is loving. Why does he do these things? That's a good question, right? So he flips it back on me. Okay. When God kills people in the Old Testament or any time, does he give reasons? Or does God just wake up like one day saying, Canaanites, I want them all dead? What's the answer? What are the reasons? What's been going on in the land of Canaan for 400 years? And God has been warning them. What are they doing? All sorts of abominable practices. They get to the point where they're actually sacrificing their children on a metal idol named Molech, who had arms like this, and there was a fire that they would put in Molech, and they'd heat the whole metal idol up, and then they would put their babies on the arms of this idol and watch the baby sizzle to death. And the townspeople, they'd have drummers that would play drums as loud as possible so the parents couldn't hear the screams of their own babies being cooked.
You serious?
The same kind of rhetoric that we're familiar with from the ancient world. A third point is the rhetorical status of the Canaanites. We tend to come out with the feeling that the Canaanites are bad, 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 and all this list of things that they do. They're sacrificing their children to the fire, and they're using their idolatry and all kinds of sexual perversion, and all of these things that we're used to stereotyping the Canaanites, smearing the Canaanites. When we read that in the Bible, again, we have to get used to the ancient Near Eastern practice of this sort of rhetoric. So, again, ineligible for human use. Why did I put that there again? Okay, the invincible barbarian motif. The invincible barbarian motif is known in the ancient world, and it's when you're describing a certain kind of enemy. You describe them as totally uncultured. And it's a stereotypical kind of description of all of the lack of culture. They're barbarians, but you can't defeat them. And the usual response is that the gods have to defeat them. And so the Canaanites are kind of described using this kind of rhetoric. There's no specified indictment of specific acts that were witnessed. This is the broad rhetoric of the invincible barbarian. So again, we shouldn't think in terms of, in my mind at least, some others are going to disagree with that perhaps, we shouldn't think in terms of the Canaanites deserved it. They deserved what they got. God is just doing judgment for people who are criminal and perverted and all kinds of bad things. So they deserved it. Well, again, we spent a lot of time looking at the passages that describe the Canaanites. And we found a lot of stereotypical rhetoric rather than sort of individual items that could have been observed and documented. And so we find that they are categorized into this larger rhetorical category. Lots of people think, well, the Canaanites are God's acting against them because they are idolaters. Be real careful on that one. The nations are never told that they can't use idols. Israel is told they can't use idols. That's part of the covenant. God made the covenant with Israel, and they're not supposed to use idols. God made no covenant with the other peoples, and they're never told that they shouldn't use idols, and they're never told that they would be punished for using idols. It's never said that they are punished for using idols. When you get the judgments against the nations in the prophetic literature, it's ethical issues, violence, and slavery, selling human slavery. It's those kinds of things. It's not, oh, they're idol worshipers, go kill them. Remember, too, that Israel was only acting against those who were in the land. They weren't supposed to go out to Canaanite cities and wipe out any Canaanite you find. The land is being cleared of them. Because again, this is an act of eminent domain.